Welcome to the Belonging Project. The Belonging Project has the purpose to share real life and powerful global conversation that offer inspiration and practical strategies to anyone who is on the path to find a true voice in society, in life, and as a leader, the journey towards belonging. This conversation is exactly what it needs to be at this moment in time. Our rules. Number one, nobody gets to be right or wrong. Number two, emotions are always welcome. Number three, come as you are, everything is included. And number four, everybody gets to be vulnerable. We absolutely love talking about wins and successes, of course, but we also love talking about challenges and failures even more.
And our guest today is Lorrena Black. Lorrena currently serves as a Vice President of Leadership Development of Inforum, the only professional organization in Michigan and only a few in the country that becomes a strategic connection, proven professional development programs, and respect forums for new ideas and original research to accelerate careers for women and boost talent initiatives for companies. From 1997 until 2018, Lorrena serves honorably as an active duty service member of not less than the U.S. Army. I have goosebumps here, just saying, where she develops support of the global war on terrorism. She continues to serve as a captain in the Army Reserves. In addition, Lorrena is a mother and a wife. She is passionate about her family, her faith, and serving her community and fellow veterans. Lorrena serves on the board of directions for Emmanuel House Recovery Center, a homeless veteran treatment shelter, and the board of trustees for Catch Charity for Children. Lorrena, thank you so much for being here with us. We are so excited to have you.
Thank you, Andrea.
Thank you. So we would like to, of course, know we have such an interesting background and of this, your experience in the huge experience in the U.S. Army and raising your kids, and even now being working at Inforum, which is an amazing organization here in Michigan. So before we go with that, I'm so curious, since I met you, what drove you to the U.S. Army to join? Could you tell us a little bit more of your story?
Yeah, so I grew up in Vancouver, Washington, and I was raised by a single mom. And so there was never really, my mom did the best that she could. She had 6 kids, and there wasn't a real big push for college. So as I was getting through high school and as I was figuring out, what am I going to do with life, I just was kind of lost. And I think I was on my 6th job that year after high school, because I'd worked since I was 11, babysitting and then, that type of stuff. And I had an Army recruiter come up to me, and he did the smart thing that recruiters do, like, oh, do you know so-and-so? And when I said no, he's like, oh, well, have you ever thought about the Army? And at that point, I had never thought about the Army, but my stepmom had served in the Air Force, and she was an air traffic controller. So that was in the back of my head. So he started talking to me and telling me more, and I got really intrigued by the thought of doing something scary, because I associated that with the movie Full Metal Jacket, which I didn't know at the time was actually about the Marine Corps. But I was like, oh, I don't know if I can do this, because I'd also, I'd been an overweight teenager, not very fit, so the thought of all of it was just like, I don't even know if I could do this. But I loved the idea of joining something that I couldn't quit, because I didn't like, where I was going with this, just quitting every time something got hard or scary. So I went home and I told my mom, and she was like, I'm sorry, but but she supported me, and so I did it. And I remember a cousin I had said, Lorrena joined the army. She can't join the army. She's too nice to join the army. Because I was, sorry, my mouth is getting so dry, but I was such a follower. So the thought of me doing anything just different just surprised a lot of people, but I did it. And my mom was like, okay, we'll go for those 4 years. And then when you're done, come home. And then, 4 years turned into 5 years, turned into 6 years. And I just kept going with it. And it's been wonderful because I had both my daughters while I was, in the military. They lived with me in Korea for a couple of years, and they've got just great experiences. They've had a lot of, trials too, because they've been, they're on their 8th school now, and, because we had to move so much. But I was able to finish both of my degrees because of the military. And then I started out as an enlisted soldier, but I was able to get my degree and become an officer, and I'm a captain now. So that's how I ended up in the Army.
Yes, that's an amazing story. Thank you.
Yeah. And Lorena, so I have a 19-month-old toddler, and I was wondering, how was it to juggle motherhood with career in the Army, and how do you think it has impacted you in that sense?
Yeah, no, it was, it's hard. It was very hard. And I was, at the time, my ex-husband, my children's father, he was also in the military. So it was 2 people on active duty in the military with 2 girls. My girls are 16 months apart. So they were very close. And when I got pregnant, my second daughter, my ex-husband was actually deployed in Iraq. And so I was there with a 7-month-old, or well, by the time I had her, she was 1.5. And then I had the baby, and was in the Army. And I had a boss tell me, who was a woman, basically my daughter was sick, and I was trying to juggle everything. And she's like, well, you better figure it out. You want to be here. And so I was like, well, you know what? Wow. I'm going to have to get out of the Army because I don't know how to be a good soldier and a good mother. And at that point I was at 10 years in the military. So I really thought about that I was going to need to get out. And I had a boss say, are you crazy? You've been in 10 years already. You're halfway done. You need to stick it out. And really, I think that was God's plan for me too, because things just weren't lining up for me to be able to get out, which I'm so thankful today that I didn't, because then I got the opportunity to go to college and get my degree while I still had my girls. Wow. And then when I went to Korea, that's when I split from their dad. So now I'm a brand new lieutenant in Korea with 2 children under the age of 5. And trying to, really trying to figure it out. I remember seeing you have to pick your people, who the daycare can call in case of an emergency. And I'm just like, you look nice. Can I put you on the to help me out? And I remember getting alerted where we're called in, and you have to, grab all your gear, get your weapon, do all of that at 4 o'clock in the morning. Well, daycare doesn't open till 5:30. So I'm sitting in my office with my, 3-year-old on my lap, my other one sitting over. I've got a rifle on my back. And that was what my life was. My girls spent their early years where I would wake them up 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning while I'm getting them dressed, where they're still asleep. I'm putting them in the car. I'm standing outside of daycare at 5:30, waiting for the doors to open so I can hurry up, rush to, our physical training. But it worked. We made it work. My daughters are so resilient now because of that. I met my current husband, through the military, who has 2 children. So now I've got 2 more that I, military brats that that we just, it's been great. It's been hard, but I wouldn't change anything.
Yes, this is all part of your story, right? Mm-hmm. And this is part of who you are, and that's beautiful. So, and coming to the belonging topic, with it is part of our project, and also with your experience in the military in the US, also what you just shared, going to Korea, and being a mom, raised your kids with abroad as well. Have you ever, how was this your experiencing this feeling that you belong to US Army or belong in general for Lorena?
Yeah, there, in my early years in the Army, I think I struggled a little bit with belonging from so I'm, just to back up, I'm biracial. My mother was white and my father's African American. And when I joined the military, on my paperwork, I marked, you can only check one box. So I chose to mark Black because that's what, I identify as. And I was given a hard time when I first joined the military from some of my fellow soldiers that were Black, that were like, you're not Black, you can't put that on your paper. And there was this huge poll about whether I needed to decide whether I was Black or white. And I felt like I just didn't really fit anywhere. And that probably only lasted for the first couple of years. And it was really when I got to the point that I was just okay with who I was as a person, Black, white, everything. And in me, like it had to come from me just to be like, I'm me and I do belong. And then once I got past that, the military it's its own little family. So you get really ingrained in like the customs and all of that. So it's very, tight knit. It's, again, not always perfect, and not everybody treats you the way you want to be treated necessarily, but you still, you all have that commonality of serving.
What comes to mind when you think of belonging, given your experiences, what you shared just there, but even beyond that?
I think it's being in a place where you feel secure in who you are, and you feel accepted for who you are, and you feel that supported. So secure, accepted, supported, just all of that, regardless of where you come from or what you look like or any of that.
And I'm sure that you also working at Inforum and in contact with so many organizations. The Inforum itself is doing so many initiatives, and also many companies are creating now. I say at least they're starting now, or now they are implementing even more. So what for you is important for in organizations or in the leadership to create this belonging in the workplace when people feel they belong in some way?
No, I think it's extremely important to companies. And I think especially now, because we're all remote, or most of us are remote, and it's a lot harder, but it's important. And I think companies need to be intentional about it, and it needs to be front of mind. And you can create that sense of belonging with checking up on people. You have to be intentional about making sure that you are making people feel as if they belong.
Yes, looking the other person, right? Paying attention to the other.
Yeah.
And maybe as well, kind of carrying on your work with Inforum, what's been, I don't know, your favorite success story, or maybe even a story of the transformation that you were able to witness?
I'll tell you. So we have one of our programs that we have is called Encountering Diversity Within Inclusive Thinking, and we ran that back in November, and we did it virtually, and everyone takes the IDI assessment in that one to figure where they land on that continuum of, are you in acceptance? Are you minimizing differences? Are you in denial about people's differences? And when we did this one, it was a mixed group of men and women, and I was there as just, as the kind of an observer in the background. I wasn't the facilitator, and it was really cool to watch. Especially the men, as they were able to share their aha moments with realizing how they can tend to not be very inclusive with people that are different from them, and just to see from the beginning to the end, like their growth was really awesome.
It's always start with the awareness, right?
For sure.
Creating the awareness in how we perceive ourselves, in how we can be the agent of transformation in small little actions and behaviors.
did a block on just inclusive leadership, and in there it really does start with, you have to know yourself and identify what your biases are and all of that.
Yes, because as the unconscious bias says, that we all have bias, right? That's in some ways there is a natural tendency, like the affinity bias, that people now tend to go with, but we need to be aware that this exists and don't make this for granted in some way.
So having this work with Inforum and also your career in the military, how do you think, or how do you feel that your definition of belonging, or the meaning that belonging has to you, may have shifted over the years?
Sure. I honestly, I think up until recently, I never really, thought about the word belonging. I think I thought about, I've always wanted to fit in or feel accepted or feel like I could completely be myself. But it's now with Inforum, again, it goes back to, I think, just that intentionality. Like we did a class or a PowerPoint on networking and the importance of networking, and there's a section in there about belonging. So I did a lot of just looking at belonging and really thinking about it more, about that word, and really it's learning that word belonging is exactly what I've always wanted. I just never put that as like that's what belonging is. But I think just, even if I think about the military and I think about soldiers that I've had that come from all different backgrounds, and they just want to, to feel like they belong as well in the military. And it's just, wherever you're at, whether it's the military or the private sector, you just want to know that people support you and that people genuinely care about you, and they're going to take care of you. And I think that's just belonging. I don't know if I rambled about if that makes sense.
No, totally.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. I had the pleasure to work with a veteran as well recently, not from the US, but more from the French side. And something that came up that, what you shared there just made me think of that, how they joined the army. For them, they found a community, they found their people in a way that they had never found before. And I'm sure, there's different ways to achieve that, but having that, I don't know, so much shared experience and maybe shared values as well, how much importance it can bring to one's life.
And it makes it hard, for people when they leave the military, because you don't have that the same way anymore. So, for example, I went to the VA in Ann Arbor, and I was walking down the hallway, and everybody looks at you. We're all masked still, but they look at you. They make eye contact. They say hello. I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize how much I missed just making eye contact with people and giving the greeting of the day and saying hello. It's such just a thing that not everybody does that, and it's just something so small, so yet so big.
Yes, we can feel in your smile how make you happy. So we have the 3 questions like that. You feel free to answer with the first thing that comes to you, very quick answers and questions. So in a few words, belonging for me is
feeling secure, safe, and accepted, and able to be my authentic self.
Beautiful. Wonderful. Thank you. The best advice that I received that I'd like to share with others is?
This was from my husband. Let yourself be awesome, because you are.
I love that.
I do too. I love it. I was going to take a really big test one day, and I was really nervous about it. And he left it on a sticky note, like on the way out the door, and then another one in my car, and just it was really, it is great. It's great advice.
Awesome advice and very sweet of him as well. And the last one, the world would be a better place if?
I truly believe the world would be a better place if people just led with kindness and love. I tell my daughters all the time, I'm like, if you start from a place of kindness, you can't go wrong.
Yes, beautiful reminder, beautiful reminder. This is all everything is now need to be, this container of kindness and love.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Lorrena, for being here with us and to share your story. Such amazing experience. I really appreciate your time and thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Lorrena. Really a pleasure to have that conversation with you today.
Yes, no, thank you both for inviting me.